Scarcity and national interest. How we deal with not having enough of stuff. In this lesson, we're going to look at what scarcity is and why that creates national interest in the United States. Our objective is to understand the meaning of national interest when it comes to scarce resources in foreign policy, and to be able to describe types of foreign policy used. So we're going to look at why the United States is interested in places around the world that have certain resources. Resources are just things that either you need or you want. So for example, water is an example of a resource that you need. An iPhone is an example of a resource that you want. Before we do that, we just have to kind of do a really brief description of economics. Economics is a study of how people satisfy their needs and wants. We tend to use money to purchase our needs and wants. Bartering or trading one thing for another and creating the item yourself are other methods to do this. But for the most part, if we want something, we're going to pay for it. But sometimes countries actually kind of do more of a barter thing where they actually kind of trade things. So it's scarcity. Scarcity is a limited amount of resources to meet unlimited wants and needs. And everything is scarce. That just means that something can run out. There's not an unlimited supply of anything on Earth. Everything can run out in some way. So because everything can run out, but at the same time everybody is always wanting and needing things, you have to be careful with that and make sure that you don't run out of these things, and you try and make sure that you have enough of what you need and want to survive. So just a brief description of what needs and wants are, just like I gave you with the example of the water and the iPhone. Needs are things that a person has to have to survive. These are food, water, and shelter, the bare necessities, the things that keep you alive. And what are wants? Wants are those things that you would like but do not need to survive, which is everything else basically. So most things are wants. There's actually very few needs. So what does that have to do with a country? Why do countries get involved with scarcity? Well, since we have unlimited wants and needs but limited resources, this creates scarcity, so we need to make choices. It's in our national interest to work towards diplomacy with those countries that control important national resources. So that means that if a country has something that is really important, it's going to be in the interest of the United States to work closely with that country and make sure that that country is stable. So what's an example of something that we have on Earth that's really important, but it's not unlimited, meaning that it can run out? Probably the best example we can use is oil. Oil is obviously incredibly important because it's the way that we power most of our things, specifically transportation. It's a non-renewable natural resource. It means it's a resource that cannot be replaced once it is used. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's not something that comes back. That's what makes it so important to kind of watch over. We compete for the use of limited resources through price, diplomacy, and even conflict. For example, oil is an item found in large quantities in the Middle East, and so it is in our national interest to work to improve relations with them. So if you look at the map, for example, you can see that the countries that are in purple are countries that have a lot of oil. And you'll notice that a lot of those countries are in the Middle East. So it's in the national interest of the United States to stay involved and in contact with countries that have oil, since the United States and its citizens need oil. Like we said, a lot of the oil that we talked about is in the Middle East. And this has been an area where a majority of U.S. conflict has occurred since 1945. It is also an area we watch closely to protect our oil interests there. Just watch the news. If you watch the news tonight, I guarantee you'd hear something about the Middle East. So oil is just an example of one thing. That's an example of a resource that exists in other parts of the world outside of the United States, but that the United States needs. So therefore, the United States has a national interest in these areas. These areas around the world have something that we want, something that we need. So we take an interest in those countries and in those areas. Be sure to join us for class this week. If you have questions or concerns or need help, feel free to contact us. If not, good luck.